welcome to episode 67 of the Wilderness Podcast. I'm your host, Dills, and with me every single week is Mr. Deegan.
Hey, how's it going?
The going's good, as always. How's it going with you?
Pretty good. No complaints, really. How about you?
Basically the same. Now, before we kick things off, I should mention my phone isn't currently working. I had to put a fucking screen protector on it, which means I had to put some special case on it, so I can't plug my phone into my little mixer thing to get our little sound clips or sound cues, I should say, for each little segment. So if things seem a little bit wonky, it's because I had to splice them in afterwards. But yeah, how was your week? Anything exciting happen?
Yeah, I got some stuff. So
nice.
Real life. I actually went to the gym for the first time in like over 5 years, I think. It's been a while.
Oh shit, trading that strength.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sore.
Not bad.
I've been in a lot of pain. Well, today actually isn't too bad, but like yesterday I couldn't even like put my arms up on the table without being in pain. Like to play
No
Runescape.
pain, no gain.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit, the pain was getting in the way of your scaping?
Oh yeah, dude. I had to like slow down on Vorkath because spoilers, I did Dragon Slayer 2 and have been killing Vorkath this week.
Nice.
I was like too sore to boss. It was so depressing.
I mean, I guess it's a double-edged sword, right? It'll pay off in a couple days.
Weeks, months, 6 months from now, maybe, if I keep it up.
Be fucking jacked.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it in real life. Nothing too entertaining. RuneScape. Well, I just mentioned I did, Dragon Slayer 2 and Vorkath. And
nice.
I was mainly motivated because of the changes they made to Vorkath that we'll talk about, soon enough.
A little teaser.
Yeah, a little teaser or spoiler, depending on what kind of person you are.
Yeah, I
half
guess
glass
so.
full or empty.
How was Dragon Slayer 2? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was actually really good. I started off with Slayer Music 1's guide, and then eventually just paused it and just wanted to do the quest on my own. And there were some parts where I just opened it up and I would like kind of figure out what to do if I got confused.
There's a few, like, it's a pretty straightforward quest, because I did it when it first came out, and I didn't use a guide for most of it. Luckily, about halfway through that day, a guide did come out, because there was one part in particular that I was stuck on for a while, and I just couldn't figure it out. You have to, I don't know, turn on these, like, furnaces, or whatever. Furnace, and the way you do that is by casting Fire Blast, I think it was, or Fire.
Oh yeah, on the wooden dragon head things.
Yeah, but maybe I just missed it, but I couldn't find any indicator that stated that you had to cast a fire spell on it.
Yeah,
I was just stumped.
You had to cast Fire Wave, which is pretty cool. Yeah, most like the little puzzles, I guess, were straightforward. Like the whole the busts, I guess, of like the heroes. You have to put the statues, and there's a little riddle that you have to read through.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool. I thought that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat.
It's not too hard, but it's like a little tricky.
Yeah, it's enough to open up fucking Paint and draw out like the riddle and how they describe where everyone sits. Yeah.
And there's a puzzle at the very beginning of the quest. We have to make this map. Do you know which part I'm talking about?
Yep.
So it took the map is basically of Fossil Island and the areas around it, but I had no idea what map I was trying to create, and I was looking all over the world map, and I was asking people like, where the fuck am I, like, how do you know, like, you have no reference to put these puzzle pieces together. How am I supposed to know what to do? And no one was telling me, and I was getting so stressed out, but then eventually I realized, like, oh shit, it's just Fossil Island. All right, it's got a lot easier.
I just opened up like a picture, like Slayer Music 1 had like a thing where it shows what the finished puzzle looks like, so I just went off of that.
Oh, well, that's boring.
Yeah, it's like, cheating a bit, but whatever. Saves me some headache. But yeah, overall, I really like the quest. I didn't die. Actually, no, that's a lie. I died once at the Rune Dragon and Adamant Dragon part, and it's like fucking disconnected. I was so mad because I had a couple people, like a couple of my buddies were like PMing me as they were doing it, like before and after I did it, that like, oh my god, this quest sucks. I keep dying, blah, 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 blah. I keep dying to Vorkath or I keep dying to Galvik. And I was like, I'm going to beat it without dying. That's my goal.
Fucking Lil Wooks Jr. over here.
Not even close.
I died a good 8 times. I died on Vorkath twice. You got to fight him during the quest before you.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a mid-boss. And then I died like once on the ship part where you're with all the Vikings, the Fremeniks.
Yep.
And then probably a good 6 or 7 times between the dragons and Galvik himself.
Oh, yeah. Insulated boots, super good for the Rune Dragon.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, insulated boots, the like only actual use for it. It produces so much damage from his electricity.
That's cool. And
yeah, and the Addy Dragons, the poison stuff kind of works like the Lizardman Shaman, but it's less noticeable. Shoots the poison and like splashes around you and does a bunch of poison damage.
Yeah, it's really hard to dodge.
Yeah, you have to like be really like, I don't know, preemptive about it, I guess. Gotta be moving like ASAP. But
that whole last section I found was pretty epic. Did you play with music turned on?
Of course.
How sick was it when Skate Main started playing?
Yeah, I liked it a lot, but then the third time it loops, you're kind of like, all right. But it's still pretty badass once it first starts playing.
Yeah, that is like a 15-minute section. So I got that too. But yeah, the first time when it starts, you're like, I thought like I had another RuneScape client open that was like playing the main song, and I was like, shit, man, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah, it's a pretty solid quest. I thought it was pretty fun. It made me want to start a new account and go back and play through all the quests again, but read the dialogue.
Yeah, you say that now. Wait until you like actually start doing all the quests though, because a lot of them are just memes.
Yeah, I guess they're like
they're just super, not memes, but just goofy as hell, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I skip a lot of them, is because I feel like at least some of the quests, it seems like they're written for a younger player base.
Yeah.
But I know there are some really cool quests, like, what's that quest called? Bane's?
A Soul's Bane or a Bane Soul?
Yeah, a Soul's Bane. That quest has a pretty dark story. I really like that one.
Yeah.
But okay, besides Dragon Slayer 2, what else you got?
Well, I guess related, I've been killing a crap ton of Vorkath. Well, yeah, I was killing a crap ton until those two sort of like even kill them. But as of right now, I'm at 114 kill count.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. With the money from that and like, so I think it was last episode, I talked about, how my genius idea to buy like 90k or over 90,000 sharks and flip them on Dragon Slayer 2 release.
Right, yep.
And how I was kind of cheesed that I'm like hemorrhaging like I was going to lose like 5 or 6 mil or something. I think it was at the date of recording, I was going to lose 5 or 6 mil. And
yeah, I remember you're talking about selling them off to not lose a whole, like you didn't want to lose too much money, so sell them early.
Yeah, so me being the stubborn person I am, I doubled down and bought some more. And because they were like so low, they're going for like 600 or 630 at one point. Like they were so cheap. So I ended up buying a crap ton, and then we'll talk about we'll go into detail about Vorkath, but the Vorkath changes that came on the Monday, so a couple days after the update, caused like in like 24 hours for them to go from 630-ish all the way up to 730. That's where they like peaked at.
Damn.
And so I sold off most of my sharks. I kept like 9,000 and I made over 20 mil profit from sharks. How nuts is that?
The fucking rich keep getting richer, it seems like.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. I had some other random items I flipped, made some money. That worked out really well too. And like I bought like some Zulrah scales and whatnot, but not enough to like actually be a lot. You know what I mean? Like couple 100K profit.
Yeah, those shot up a bit too, didn't they?
Yeah, I kind of regret selling them. I wanted to just keep them and use them. I should have, but whatever.
I know Bando's God Sword went up as well. I think it like almost doubled.
Yeah, sadly, I had one when they were like 3 mil and I sold it for like 3.5 or some shit. Really regret that, but yeah, so with the money I made from Vorkath and the flips, that got me to buy 77 Prayer and Augury. So I got Augury at the moment with 77 Prayer, and I have a buy-in for Rigor. I have a 63 mil buy, like, order just sitting in the GE. With the Vorkath changes, Rigor went from like 65 mil-ish up to over 80 mil in a day.
Holy fuck.
Man, one of my buddies was telling me they're looking at like GE Tracker, or they're looking at something, and two people bought Rigor for 300 mil and one person bought it for 120 mil.
Damn.
Yeah, so the prices are a little inflated. Or I guess the like percentage is a little bit changed due to people like, you know, that have like a bill and they just type in 500M, enter, and they like, oh no. They just spent 300 mil on a goddamn icon that lights up. Yeah, so yeah, I almost have like one of my goals done to get all the prayers. So in due time.
That's right, nice.
Yeah, Rigor has dropped a decent amount. I don't know the current price, but over 10 mil at least since I put the buy in. So I'm pretty confident I'll be able to get that in like a week or two.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a good start to 2018, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, Vorkath is stupid money. I haven't gotten any special drops. I hit the rare loot table twice or whatever. I got the battle staves that are on his loot table, and I got like some of the like, I think 10 and 13.
Are
each
those
time.
on the rare drop table?
Yeah, like in the rare, rarity, I guess.
Sure.
It's like 5 to 15 or something you can get.
It's alright, I guess.
That's as much as I can think of on my main. And then on my Obby Mauler, I don't know when the last time I gave an update, or I gave it last week, but I don't remember exactly what stats it was at. But I've done all my diaries except for the Falador and Artie diaries. I still gotta do those. I need one small favor to do, and like the Death of Dorgashan quest line, and then I'm like fully quested and whatnot.
What do you need the diaries for?
Just experience lamps, because I mentioned this before, but generally when you make an Obby Mauler, you, like, I guess the more efficient way to do it is you train at Sand Crabs until you're at 40 combat. So you just train strength, you just sit there at Sand Crabs and you get 40 combat. And then you go to Vanica, the Edgeville Slayer guy, and you do your Slayer task there because you just get better tasks with more experience. And you mage your tasks up until you hit 50 mage. And you can also cannon the cannonable tasks. So it's kind of pricey. Because Slayer is so slow. Like, and anyways, I didn't know that when I first made this account. I just kind of, was like, alright, this is what I want to do. And I want to save as much money as possible. So I was in free to play and I like splashed to 50 mage. So to make up for all the lost experience, I'm doing the Artie diaries and whatnot.
Okay, fair enough.
And plus it's nice to have that cape, right? I want to get the cape and little collectible items.
Pretty good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Yeah, so I'm at 70 strength right now, 40 Slayer, and 58 health. I'm almost 40 combat. I'm 39.1 at the moment on the Mauler.
Nice. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so hopefully next week I can have all the quests done and be grinding out Slayer.
That sounds fun. Start stocking up on those recoils.
Yeah. God damn, I've already gone through like 200. Just getting like 1 to 40 Slayer.
Get some recoils. Get your main to start putting vengeance on them.
Yeah. Get a sweet like 2 vengeance off on a skeleton.
Yeah. If he hits a 1, do you recoil back 1 with vengeance?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I'd assume. That'd be weird if you venged a 0.
Yeah, 0.5.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it for me. I don't think I'm missing anything, but yeah, what about you? What did you do this week?
Sounds like a pretty solid week. Myself, really not too much going on. again, we got to give the weekly update on the house. It's still going on. Kitchen counters coming this week. That means we get a sink. I can start buying not vegetables. I can start buying food, stock up that fridge. No more fast food, that means. And yeah, hopefully soon I'll get this little computer office kind of fully functioning. Like, it's working now, but I want to get like foam for the walls. I want to get like a rug for the floor, maybe a new computer chair, some little things like that. So that should hopefully be coming up eventually. But besides that, nothing else exciting to mention. I just picked up No Man's Sky today for the PlayStation 4.
No, you didn't.
Oh, hell yeah. I got it for like $20.
I know they've made a lot of changes to the game, so it's not like complete trash water, but
I love me some good space simulators. And yeah, when that game came out, I was kind of hyped up for it, because I think I was pretty, like, I didn't watch all the videos and stuff of what was going to be in that game, but I was playing Elite Dangerous at the same time, so I was kind of excited for a new space simulator game to come out. And if you ever played Elite Dangerous, that game is fucking difficult. Like, you stop playing it for 3 days, you forget all the controls.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Man, you should look into Everspace. That's like a space sim I've been like looking at for a while. It looks really good. I've heard good things about it.
I might check it out. But yeah, they did come out with some big patches for No Man's Sky that kind of, it's not exactly where people thought it would be on release, but it's a lot closer than it was. And I guess the shitstorm that happened when that game first came out, a lot of people just gave up on it. And yeah, it seems like it might have some interesting things. So yeah, I've only played like 15 minutes of it. It's pretty goddamn confusing. They got a hardcore Iron Man mode on it. I mean, it's called permadeath, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Little old school RuneScape-y. I'll have to try that out, and we'll see how that goes this week. Besides that, I've been watching my girlfriend play Doki Doki Literature Club. That game is sick. That's a really interesting and creative game. It's free on Steam, which I didn't know. I think you're the one who told me that, which caused me to download and get her to play it. It looks like an anime dating sim game, but
things happen.
Yeah, things happen. It's really good. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I definitely recommend playing that. But for a solid chunk of the beginning of the game, I could see a lot of people quitting. All I'm going to say is stick with it, and things get interesting. So, yeah, that's been quite the ride. Besides that, some RuneScape. I want to say did quite a bit, but I've done a lot of quests. Last week I mentioned I was doing I'm trying to get all my hard diaries done, just through all of them, which means I got to get a lot of quests done. So I've been doing that, and then Rat Catchers was one of them, and fuck that quest. It is brutal. Like, I know I've heard people talk about how shitty that quest is to do, and I kind of get it. It's just wonky and frustrating. So got that done though. Had to get 75 thieving done, which means I was pickpocketing Artie Knights. And I know you mentioned it on a previous episode about there's a clan chat called Thieving Host, and you can go there and you'll find a world where somebody is splashing the Artie Knight in the southern bank, which makes it really easy to kind of AFK, as in you don't have to watch your screen. You just hit the plus button on your numpad. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's great. It is something that you should probably prep and get some YouTube videos and Netflix shows to binge watch while you're training it. Because I kind of ran out of YouTube videos to watch at like level 73, and it made me want to like fucking punch a hole in the wall. I was so bored. But, I got there, got 75 thieving. And I am currently working on 75 smithing now. And I know you can boost these, but I just want to get the stats up, because if I just keep boosting things, I'm never going to train them. You know what I mean?
And once you get to elites, I think you need 87 smithing for Lumberge Elite. So it's
yeah, that's like a whole nother level. So
you might as well just get to 75, because you're going to need to get at least 82 at one point.
Yeah, and if I'm complaining about leveling up my smithing to 75, then I'm never going to be able to get it to level 80.
Yeah, and I mean, just spare some of your cat's lives, you know? Don't get him killed trying to get boosts.
Yeah. Hey, although I got the rat catchers done. I'll get some wily cats going in there.
Oh yeah, true.
But yeah, no, that's also a pretty solid point. If I never have to use spices again, I'll be a happy man.
Hey man, what was I at, like 50 something for construction? Something stupid? I want to say 50, but I feel like it might have been more. I don't really remember how much it was, thankfully.
Yeah, I remember that being pretty brutal. It was at a ridiculous number.
Yeah.
Yeah, been doing blast furnace, and I was doing gold. I was using the blast furnace to make gold bars, which it's good experience, but it's expensive. It's kind of expensive. Yeah, it's expensive. And I decided that I've heard you can make cash from blast furnace from making mithril and addy bars, or maybe even and rune, but I'm not there yet. So I decided that I'm going to make some adamant bars from blast furnace. But to do that, I need a coal bag from Motherlode Mining, which means I need 100 gold nuggets. So I'm currently at Motherlode Mining trying to get my 100 nuggets. That's a fucking painful grind in itself, too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be there for some time. Besides that, nothing much else went on. You kind of inspired me to train my pure a little bit. I mean, just you mentioning it kind of gave me that pure itch.
Yep.
So I've been kind of splashing on my Buttery Mess account, which is my 1 defense barrel anchor pure.
Yo, you know what you should do on them? Go get the fire cape.
Yeah. With my 40 range.
Dude, get 41 range? I think, is that what you need for adamant crossbow?
Maybe.
Yo, let me check this out, because I only say this because I'm trying to figure out a way to practice Jad without any prayers, so I can maybe one day do it on my Obby Mauler. Because
how the fuck do you kill Jad with no prayer?
Tick eating. So you
every time?
Yeah. So you need 46 range.
Purple candy or purple sweet?
I'll just say this. So you need 46 range for the Addy crossbow. So you could start doing attempts at 46 range. But, so the way tick eating works, the whole thing is, the way the mechanics work is that you can't, I believe it's like, I know they changed the PID system and whatnot like a while ago. We talked about it in one episode, so I think it's still consistent in PvE or PvM, but a monster can only hit what your current HP is. So if you have 1 health, you know, you're not going to hit a 10 from like Cerberus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you eat on the same tick that they hurt you. So they hurt you for 1, but you've like eaten already and you don't die.
Right.
So it's really hard. I've been watching like some videos trying to figure out, like, I don't even know if it's still possible, because some people speculated with the PID changes that it's not. And I haven't seen anything saying that it is still possible, but I've heard nothing saying that it's impossible now. So
isn't that going to cost you like 100 mil? Because you're going to have to tick eat every single time that level 360 hits you, right?
So here's the thing. With an Obby Mauler, like a max Obby Mauler, so I have like 99 like HP and strength and shit. The highest range I can get is like 69. Because then level 70, I go up a combat level. So pretty much I have finite attempts at Jad on the account before I can just never get the fire cape again. Well, I mean, I could, but, you know, I'd go up combat levels. And it's about 7 hours per attempt.
Holy shit.
So you die at Jad, that's 7 hours down the tube. And because you only have finite attempts, I would want to try to get a 1 defense, 1 prayer cape on another character first.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like, so it's huge money and time sink. I don't know if I'll ever actually do it. That's like really shooting for the stars. I'd rather like focus on my main and just, you know, I don't need a fire cape on this guy. But like, you have overheads because you're an overhead, or you're a barrel chest anchor pure.
Hell yeah, 52 prayer.
So, you know, it would be really slow. You'd have to set like a whole Saturday to do it. But, You could do it on him. Get like the lowest combat possible for your, like, you know, get it ASAP and be pretty legit.
I probably will get it eventually because just in general, like, I'm not too picky on combat levels. And clearly I'm making a barrel chest anchor pure, so that doesn't really matter too much to me. I am probably going to be getting 70 range at some point, maybe even higher. At least that's my idea. Yeah, but I could definitely work towards that. Right now, I'm just kind of thinking, because originally when I made this pure, I was thinking of coming out with this like YouTube series called King of the Wild, which was going to be me Edgeville PKing and me at the beginning kind of sucking at it and dying all the time, and then slowly improving and getting better at it as my stats get up. And the next thing you know, the gimmick was I'm going to try to be the best, the number one bounty hunter on RuneScape. So that was the idea. I didn't really have that much time. I was kind of over ambitious with it, where I put out the one episode and then I started making the next one. I lost some of the footage, but then also I was just like, okay, I don't know if I could do this consistently because, you know, I got a job and stuff, and I also want to play my main. I don't have time right now to make some pretty big gains on my main, as well as making like YouTube videos on my pure. And I could, but, you know, I got other things I want to do. I got like my PS4 games I want to play. I got some, you know, the odd real life thing I want to do, go outside and breathe some fresh air for 5 minutes every now and then. So yeah, I've kind of left it. I wasn't sure what I want to do with it, but I think I want to get like 85 mage and just kind of be able to do some cheesy things with it, as in telly block and then just mage people down at green dragons maybe, or, you know what I mean? Things like that. Something that I don't have to worry about like being a good PK if I don't feel like it. Something I could do on the side.
Yep.
Which is like, everybody hates those type of PKers, but yeah, whatever. It's kind of fun every now and then. So that's what I've been thinking. I've been splashing, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to work towards 85 mage, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It'll probably take a while, but well, yeah, that's my idea. Anyways, yeah, that's basically my old school RuneScape week right there.
Decent. Do you want to move into the news?
I think it's time for the news. What you got for us this week?
So, we teased about it before, but they made some forecast changes. So, I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I've talked about it pretty much every episode. Hey guys, forecast is going to be the new Zulrah. I'm calling it. And then on release, I was very, very wrong. And yeah, but with these further changes, they have buffed his like gold per hour.
So now you're back to being right.
Yeah, as always, I'm right. Never wrong. So yeah, let's get into it. So the amount of, I don't know if we talked about this, but there's one phase. We'll talk about like the whole Vorkath killing process and everything later on, but he's got this one phase where like he shoots a bunch of poison pools and shoots like a barrage of fire blasts at you. And it was discovered by Wooks, obviously, but it was discovered that you can walk and attack him with your blowpipe and not take damage, and it was leading for really, really fast kills. And so they did that by like tuned his health up by a lot. No one really liked it. Then they went back on it, and now they've changed it so you can just do 50% of your damage during this phase. So you're still rewarded on like being mechanically skilled.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. You got to dance between two different tiles, being like right outside of the blowpipe's range.
Yep. Yeah, we'll explain all the mechanics and whatnot after the news. Yeah, with that being said, they also lowered his base defense, because most people they would go in with a Dragon Warhammer or a BGS, they would double spec, and if they missed, they would just tally out and restart. And so that is really silly. So yeah, they changed that. If you hit zeros, or if you don't even have one of these spec weapons, you can still do it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, obviously, you drop 270s with a BGS. That's gonna make a big difference in your kill time, but in general, like, you're not gated with, like, these spec weapons like you kind of were in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly, which is nice, because not everybody has a Dragon Warhammer or a BGS.
Yeah, especially now that BGSs are 10 mil.
Yeah, I'm in that boat.
Yeah. So That being said, though, they added a second role on Vorkath's standard drop table. So the second drop doesn't include any unique items, clue scrolls, like extra superior dragon bones, or the two blue dragon drops. Oh my god, that was weird. And you don't get an extra chance in the Vorkath. So you'll just, get just his standard loot, I guess. Nothing too special, but it pretty much doubles his gold per hour.
Yeah, and that's where it's kind of similar to Zulrah, because Zulrah also has a double drop.
Yeah. Yeah, so. It's huge. Or you can be like me and you get 2 friggin' Wrath Talismans and you make a solid 1k in those double drops and you're kind of pissed.
Nice, man. Yeah. Nice. Turn them into tiaras.
Yeah. That being said, though, his overall standard drop table has been substantially improved. They went and changed a couple items. I think one of them was the battle staves. I don't remember what the other one, but they changed a couple of them because they don't want too many being put into the game. So, like, the whole battle staves, I'm assuming it's because you can get your Zaf staffs, your dailies, and it kind of, like, devalues that a little bit.
Yeah, like, I know when the change first got put in for the increased drop table, a lot of people were kind of unhappy about it because it was just ridiculous money, upwards of, like, 5 mil an hour.
Yeah.
So then they tweaked it a bit to make it not as good, but it's still, like, one of the top money makers out right now, and a little controversial.
Yeah.
But they realized it was just too overtuned, so they just brought it down just a tinsy bit.
Yeah, isn't Zulrah's, like, max, you can make upwards of, like, 2.3 mil an hour at Zulrah with, like, best in slot stuff?
Possibly. Like, you hear these numbers thrown around all the time, but it might be, like, doing multiple runs per trip and stuff like that.
Well, best in slot would be, like, best gear, best setup, as in, like, you teleport to your house, all that jazz. You have the fairy ring, like, you have, like, the most efficient setup. I think it's, like, 2.3, might be a little bit more. All I know is I get, like, 2.2 to 2.5 mil an hour at Vorkath.
Yeah, okay.
So, anyways, yeah, it's really, really good money. So, yeah, there's still a couple more changes, though. So, Vorkath's initial special attack will now be randomly selected between the Poison Pool and a Freeze attack. And nice. All other skills or attacks will still follow the same rotation. We'll, like, go over all of his attacks and stuff soon enough.
Sure.
They've nerfed anti-fire and extended anti-fires against Vorkath. So, super anti-fires are still completely busted against him.
Which... That's a weird one. I thought if anything it would be the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Whatever though. The loot you get will now be broadcasted. It didn't get broadcasted for a little bit, so now you get that sweet red text when you get your double drops.
Aw, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's also changes to the Rune Dragon. They made it more difficult for aggro to be stolen. While dealing with the effects of the special attack. So I think a lot of people were getting kind of like cheesed by dodging the like electricity that the Rune Dragons drop out. And then, so they made that a bit harder. They did the same change with the Addy Dragons, where it's a lot harder to get your aggro stolen. And, they changed the Adamant Dragon special attack to the Ruby Bolt effect rather than the Diamond. The previous damage reduction while using the protect from missiles no longer applies.
Cool. Okay, sure.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense though. It's kind of weird being punished for staying at full health against like
exactly. And I know a lot of people have been complaining that Addy Dragons are somewhat harder. Maybe they might not be harder than Rune Dragons, but they're not much easier, which is causing people to not really camp Adamant Dragons as much, which is why I think it was last week when we looked at the price between the Kite Shield and the Plate Body, which we're going to look it up right now. The Dragon Plate Body, which is what comes from the Rune Dragons, is currently at 20 mil, while the Kite Shield is currently at Error 502. Okay, so these don't even exist in the game anymore. That's how little are coming into it.
Yeah.
A lot. I know when we checked last time, it was like the Dragon Plate Body was like 30 mil, while the Dragon Kite was about 120 mil. Right now, OS Buddy has no accurate price data, which means little of them are being...
I see 55.9, pretty much 55 or 56 mil for the Kite Shield.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was expecting a lot more, but okay, there it is right there, 50 mil. So it's still more than the plate body, which, it's kind of surprising.
56
but
mil.
Then again, you realize that Adamant Dragons are not really getting camped as much as Rune Dragons.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
The amount of
coming into the game.
The difference of difficulty and GP per hour is not worth it, I guess. If
exactly.
You guys know what we're trying to say. Yeah, so that is it for the further changes. The balancing and rebalancing of Vorkath, which
right on.
Is still in a weird spot. But anyways,
yeah, we'll talk about that after, I suppose.
Yeah. So Thursdays, the 11th update, they added the return of Galvek. So if you want to fight Galvek again, you can now repeat the fight as many times as you want within the Mist Guild. When you enter to the left, you'll find a pool of dreams.
Cool.
Kind of weird because NMZ is the thing. I think they completely abandoned ship when the whole purpose of NMZ was, which was to kind of...
A bit, but then again, it kind of makes sense. It'd be weird to have Galvek. I mean, I guess you could do it, but...
You could have a special elite boss rumble, you know what I mean? Where you just fight Galvek.
Galvek, maybe the guy from Monkey Madness too.
Yeah, maybe not at the same time, just have cool little...
That's interesting.
A separate option for these guys, but whatever. I think we all know what NMZ is there for. Anyways.
Yeah.
So when you interact with the pool, you can refight Galvek, and you can also rewatch cutscenes, and you can choose out of the 9 cutscenes, which ones you want to rewatch.
Cool.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Not sure how often that's going to be used.
Yeah, maybe for video making purposes or,
Yeah. It's hard to say because, I don't know. I wonder if you die in there, you have to pay $100K to get your items back. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah. No, you don't have to pay any money. It's considered a safe death.
Solid.
Yeah. Yeah. So the next one this is kind of weird. So I went over this, I read it over twice and I was still what does this mean exactly? So they added permanent Iron Man.
Oh, a new Iron Man mode.
Yeah. So in this update, they changed the way permanent Iron Man works. So they found that many new players chose to make their Iron Man status permanent and then asked to have it removed anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see that,
Oh yeah, I mean it makes sense. It's I've made 1,000 different accounts, so I've tried a little bit of everything. But I did find it weird that when you're making an Iron Man, it asks you if you want an Iron Man that's permanent, as in you can never revert it no matter what, or you can have an Iron Man that works kind of like your bank pin, where if you want to take off the Iron Man mode and become a normal account down the road, you have to put in a pin maybe, but you have to wait a couple days before it actually kicks in. It gives you a chance to actually, either if someone's trying to destroy your account, you have a chance of recovering your account and preventing that from happening. But it also, if you're regret it, it's not an instant thing that changes. It takes a couple days.
Okay.
So you kind of sit on it and sleep on it and decide well, I did put a lot of work into this Iron Man. Fuck it, I'll just keep playing my Iron Man, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can kind of figure it out more.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that kind of makes more sense then, because a lot of people just de-ironed, just, as they played, they kind of got bored, or wanted, some item that was kind of a bitch to get. Or they,
maybe they're playing with friends and they want to kill a boss together.
Yeah.
So with an Iron Man, the second somebody hits it, you lose that loot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're gonna no longer offer the option to brand new accounts of, opting in for a permanent Iron Man status. So once you hit level, or total 1,000 skill level, you can set the permanent Iron Man status by speaking to the Iron Man tutors in Lumbridge.
So wait, it's the permanent Iron Man still in there?
It is still in there, but only accessible once you hit 1,000 total skill level.
Oh, okay. That seems... Alright, I mean, sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Existing Iron Men are all de-ironed. No, they're not affected by this change. And, the current process to remove the Iron Man will still apply, the one that you just explained with the whole thingy. and to those wishing to remove it, even after applying when reaching 1000 total level. So, I don't really understand what this changes. I'm not an Iron Man, so I'd like, I don't know, an Iron Man to explain this to me.
I guess it just means that the early levels, the early accounts can't be a permanent account unless they really want to and stick through getting 1000 levels and different skills.
Yeah, I guess.
And then by then, I guess you kind of decided. I'm probably being super ignorant, but I feel like permanent Iron Man mode is kind of like somebody who has no discipline and they're afraid they're going to accidentally or get the urge to not be an Iron Man one day. Like, I don't see the difference between having a barrier that's like, oh, I don't want to be an Iron Man anymore. Now I have to wait a week and then I'm not an Iron Man compared to a permanent Iron Man. I feel like, you know what I mean?
I just feel like an Iron Man should always, no matter what, be a permanent Iron Man, but
this way you have control over it. Like, you're still an Iron Man at the end of the day until you decide to take that status off your account. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. Whatever. We'll move on though. They completely unrelated, but they changed the Tome of Fire exchange rate. So you talk to Ignesia in Wintertodt Camp, and you can trade an empty Tome of Fire for 100 burnt pages, or an extra supply crate. But yeah,
cool, interesting.
The heraldic adamant with steel and rune, you'll be able to paint the heraldic colors on adamant and shield full helms. I can confidently say I've never done that. But you can.
I did back in the day. I remember when this update came out, and I was hyped, and so was everyone else about getting your new like family crest or whatever it was. They have a bunch of different logos you can use and stuff like that. It's interesting. They have all the symbols for the gods.
Mm-hmm.
I think even for the cities, they got like a wilderness skull you can put on your rune armor and stuff like that. It becomes untradeable, but this was at a time when RuneScape cosplaying was huge within the game, so people were hyped for this. But apparently, there's some lower level there are some lower level adamant users who want to deck out their gear. So
yeah, all those 30 defense pures, man, getting value finally.
Yeah, exactly.
The failed initiate pures.
Yeah, they forgot to look at the actual defense level of their initiate, and then they're like, all right, 30 defense. Now I can wear my initiate. And oh fuck,
and I quit.
Yeah,
they've added the toggle to the bracelet of Ethereum, so you can absorb the Ether drop from Revenants, which is really nice. That's a super nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
nice quality of life there.
Yeah. There was a bug, and thank God I didn't deal with this. Thank God I don't know anyone who dealt with this, but if you had items in your grave collection, like Vorkath, the Grotesque Guardian, Zaros, whatever. Let me rephrase it, sorry. Let's say you're PvPing, you're PKing, and some dude brings you down to like 20 HP, right? You tally out, you're like, man, I want to go do Vorkath, and you like don't eat for some reason, you go in, die. Your items would just be gone.
Right, because they'd probably, when you died, it would give it to the PvPer, but since you're in an instanced area.
Yeah, it would go to the collection system, but it's for the PK area. Yeah, so the items would just get vanished. They fixed that, though, so that's nice.
And if I'm not mistaken, this was a bug that would have happened for Zulrah, for Grotesque Guardians, or Gargoyles.
Yep.
And the volcanic mining, stuff like that, but I guess nobody had encountered that bug until Vorkath.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucks to whoever lost their items, but
yeah, in other news, they made the poison pools more consistent. I heard that they were pretty weird when you'd run over them. I didn't really experience that myself, but yeah, they changed the Ava devices, the upgrading worn Ava devices. They're like more correct with the models and stuff when you buy them. They changed the color of the spikes and the dragon boots and the plate body, just to be more consistent with, all the other stuff. They made the horns or whatever, the spikes white.
Yeah, they've done that a few times now with dragon items. I remember I think it was the Dragon Defender. It had like a pink tint around it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to recolor that to make it a red to match more.
Yeah. The Fountain of Rune in the Wilderness didn't highlight surge spells correctly, and they fixed that. A lot of like little random oversights, a lot of spelling mistakes they fixed, and like clipping issues, all that typical stuff, I guess.
Fun stuff.
They removed the seasonal dead man worlds.
Okay.
So season is over officially. So that kind of sucks if you're going to grind out that top 2000 and you're late on it, but whatever. That's pretty much it for in other news. There's not too much. A lot of like random things that we'd never notice.
Yeah, it seems it's typical after like a huge update that Dragon Slayer 2 was. They have like the next one's kind of slower, some quality of life changes, some bug fixes, little tinkerings in it around the game, and everyone's okay with that because people are still kind of digging the Dragon Slayer 2 update. It would have been weird to like the next week they're pulling raids too. You'd be like, okay, so let's put the brakes on these things.
Yeah.
You don't want things rushed now. Take your time.
Yeah, Wilderness Rejuvenation Part 2. Let's just leave it at that.
And I know Jagex does feel pressure to release. Well, they've been releasing an update every Thursday for years now, and it's kind of expected, except like sometimes I feel like the people at Jagex don't realize that if they just slow it down for a week or two, I'm not saying don't release anything, but having just small tweaks, they do that with quality of life, but you know what I mean? Just go back and take your time. Maybe just go and fix some spelling errors or, fix some things that might be inconsistent that don't take too much work. You can do that instead and gear up for the next big update to make it, make the quality just grade A.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for the updates.
Cool.
We shall move on to the poll blog.
Sweet. Bringing the polls over.
So we've actually kind of talked about the Dragon Bone necklace, and it's the first thing that they talk about in the poll. They want to buff it.
Right, because it seemed, even when we were talking about it, we were trying to figure out where it would fit.
Yeah, and there's
what you would use it for. 2
instances, maybe I thought of another one. If you're NMZing and you have a Bone Crusher with you and you're not using absorbs for some reason.
Yeah, and you want to save money in AFK a little bit more. It kind of makes sense, but
it's
kind of a weird spot because it's a very niche item. But on top of that, like trying to figure out where it would work is kind of hard. I think we even mentioned that people might use it for Dust Devils in the Catacombs.
Yep.
And then I completely didn't even think that if you have the Bone Crusher, you're already going to be getting the perk from the Catacombs, which is when you bury a bone, you get prayer.
Yeah. They realize that we're right, as always. And the necklace, they like to propose a pretty much double the prayer bonus. So right now it's a +6. They want to give it a +12. And They want to remove the effect that it reduces your remaining prayer points by 50%. And they want to replace it with a new effect. They don't tell you what effect though, so...
No, they do. It says, with the new effect, which would prevent any prayer points from being restored until the necklace has been equipped for 15 seconds. So
shit, yeah.
You losing.
Okay, I thought that was like an additional thing. Yeah, so they want to change it to, 15 seconds of it not working, which I think it should have just been like that in the beginning, but...
It sounds better. Now the niche could be if you want to restore your prayer, for instance, like, let's say, this is what I can only think of. You're killing, a Slayer task outside of the Catacombs, and like I don't even know if the numbers would work out, but let's say you got your Fury on or whatever it is you're normally using. If you bring a Dragon Bone necklace with you, you could kind of have like an offensive prayer going on to help you with your damage, or maybe you have rapid heal, so you don't have to heal as much. It's very minor, but... And then when you start running low on your prayer points, you could swap to your Dragon Bone necklace and quickly restore a bunch and then swap back over. It's going to be delayed because of the 15 seconds, but now you could do it. Whereas before you would lose 15%. You know what I mean? You'd feel...
Yeah. I do feel that the most use it will get will be you're at Cal fights, you're at Dust Devils, you're doing something like... Well, Dust Devils isn't AFK, but let's say it's Cal fights. Something that... Or Suck was... where you're cannoning and you're killing them a lot, and you already have a Bone Crusher anyways, or you should at least if you have the Mortania Hards done.
Mm-hmm.
And you use Prayer as well, so, why not? That's the thing, though, it's weird, it kind of goes against, like, Slayer meta, where you just wear the best defensive stats and, get the task done faster.
Offensive, you mean? You said defensive.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I meant offensive. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I said, there's probably someone out there who finds a really good use out of it and will watch it double in price overnight, and then, that's how metas break, I guess. But yeah, so that's a poll.
Yeah, exactly. And the next thing you know, they're having to fucking every boss they make in the future is gonna have to be worked around the Dragon Bone necklace as well.
Yep.
Because it's super broken in some sense.
Yeah, exactly. In a parallel universe, in the darkest timeline. Yep. So the two questions they have though is, do you want the necklace to be, the prayer bonus to be 6 to now 12? And then the other one is the removal of the prayer drain when you equipped it and replace with a 15-second delay before the effect kicks in.
My only thoughts, I like the effect being changed to the 15-second delay. I think that's good. The increasing the 6 prayer to 12, I don't know if it's better to have other stats and not just a prayer boost. And I don't know how big of a deal 12 would be. I know you're not getting any defensive or offensive stats, which is a huge thing. But that one I'm like a little bit more unsure of as how it would affect the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, it would be really useful at places like Dagnoth Kings once they make this change, because the prayer bonus is huge. If you're like in a group and you're not just camping Rex or something, if you're killing all of them,
okay.
I don't know. I'd kind of be down to see this, just because they can always revert it or like nerf it down to like 10 or 8 or something.
I've seen some people ask for it to have some defense stats, like maybe on par with a glory. Maybe you fuse a glory with it, and now it has the same stats as a glory, or maybe give it a little bit of offensive stats on par with the Fury. Something to make it more useful, and that's where I wonder, like, would that fit better than it having 12 prayer? Or is 12 prayer the way to go?
Yeah, see, I'm not really too sure, because I feel like they just want a best-in-slot prayer necklace.
Yeah,
I don't
make sense.
I don't know, like, because once you give it, like, the stats of a glory, then it's kind of like, that's when you start finding really busted uses out of it, and then people start whining and they want to nerf. So, I mean, if they do it in, like, small, bite-sized chunks, I'm kind of in favor for that, as opposed to just giving
that's
it,
where
like,
things
everything.
get tricky.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's where things get tricky. RuneScape's such a big game where, like, most of the times you would depend on your dev team to be able to know exactly where it's going to fit, or know how big of a deal it'll be to have glory stats or not. But the problem is, this game's been out for so long, it is so easy to miss something.
Yep, and they do quite a bit. Just look at the the text errors they have that they're fixing every week.
Yeah, because they've had so many different people on the team. A lot of people went off to RuneScape 3, some quit, some bug abuse and got fired. And yeah, then you have some other people who are having to go and kind of fix the way somebody else coded, which, you know what I mean, it might be different than how someone else coded.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where you hear things like Mod Ash, when he's doing his his developing for the game, he's going back and kind of trying to fix up and clean up some of the code because it's got spaghetti code.
Yep. Yeah, the next poll that they put in is for the Dragonfire Ward. They want to buff this as well. They want to add the melee defenses. Like they want to add a 10 bonus to them, and they want to add a 6 bonus to the mage defense.
All right.
I don't like how this is one question though, because what if, like, you want one or the other? Like, it's kind of weird they group both of them together. I don't know what the big issue is. Maybe it's just really weak. I don't really know what the,
yeah, maybe they just want it to be kind of similar to, with melee, you have a Dragon Fire Shield, and then you have a Dragon Defender. Dragon Defender is, most of the time it's better because you got the superior offensive stats, but the Dragon Fire Shield has some offensive stats, but it has pretty good defensive stats. I think they kind of want to get something going similar to ranged, And instead of a Dragon Defender, you have the Twisted Buckler, which comes from raids.
Mm-hmm.
So Twisted Buckler, with this change, it's going to have, like, I think it's a +3 in ranged accuracy.
What about like a Book of Law, though? Because I don't know. I don't think the average person has a buckler.
But I think that's what they're kind of aiming for, right?
Okay.
So something similar to like that. And this way, people can decide, like, at some point in the future, maybe with raids too, they can go for a more offensive build. It's not going to be a whole lot stronger than your Dragonfire Ward, but most of the time you're optimizing for as much offensive stats as possible, where every little number, like +1, +2, higher than another thing, it's all adds up. But at the same time, with this Dragonfire Ward, you might opt to have just a more tankier setup.
Yeah. All right.
That's what I think, at least. I don't know.
So yeah, the next one is Super Anti-Fire Potion. So currently the Anti-Fire Potion only lasts for 2 minutes. They say only, but yeah, it's pretty decent. You can kill Vorkath in under 2 minutes pretty consistently once you get the fight down. In addition to increasing their duration, they'd like to offer a new variant of the potion with a higher Herblore requirement. So upon unlocking the Super Anti-Fire Potion, you'll unlock the ability to mix extended Super Anti-Fire Potions. These potions will last twice as long, and they'll be created by using a Super Anti-Fire pot with a Lava Scale Shard, and you'll need 98 Herblore, and it's 40 Herblore experience to make it. So the first poll they add is, should the duration of the Super Anti-Fire Potion be increased from 2 to 3 minutes? And should it also be possible to mix it with the Lava Scale? And that would double the effect. So if both these go in, does that mean the extended would last 6 minutes or 4 minutes? Because that's really important.
It's probably going to be double no matter what, because that's what we have with the normal anti-fires, is one's just doubled.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I know there's other uses for it besides Vorkath, but I don't know. It's kind of like 6 minutes, potentially up to 6 minutes. That's a lot. Like, it makes like the Steel Dragon task and all that stuff way easier if you can just blowpipe it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not really too sure. I can only really think of it in the sense of Vorkath, where I think 2 minutes is enough, mainly because if you mess up the fight, then you'll go like 2 minutes, sometimes closer to 3 minutes, but generally you can keep it under 2 minutes pretty well.
And even still, it's not like a 1-dose potion.
Yeah, you get 4 doses out of it. And yeah, so I don't really know why they want to buff. I don't really understand. Hopefully someone can shed some light on why they want to do this.
My personal opinion is I am not entirely fond with the way Super Anti-Fire Potions work. When we first discussed it, like when it was first proposed, I was okay with it, but I was kind of thinking that, like, oh, you're going to drink one of these, 2 minutes, that's enough to do like a Wrath rune run to get to the altar while you're rune crafting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect. You can just drink that and you can run through it and you're good to go. But I never even thought that you're not going to need an anti-fire shield, a dragon ward, a dragon fire shield for fighting the bosses now. And like, I don't know. I just assumed that you would have to bring a shield. One of the anti-fire shields is a pretty iconic item for RuneScape. Yeah, you would have to bring one to fight dragons, because like that's like the one time where you finally have to kind of change up your equipment setup. You can't just bring your two-handed weapon, whether it's like a bludgeon or a Saradomin sword. That's what I kept running into, because I was using a Saradomin sword to train, and then I would get one of these tasks, and I'm like, okay, now I gotta get an anti-fire shield, which is a shitty shield, and then I'm gonna have like a dragon scimitar. Mm-hmm. And it kind of changed things up, made it a little bit interesting. But with the super anti-fire, you know, you're just going to be able to bring whatever two-hand bring a blowpipe anywhere now. Like,
yeah, I don't really know.
I feel like they, especially for some of the top tier dragons, you should still be required to have some type of anti-fire shield. I don't know. That's just my opinion. It just seems weird to like, oh, just drink this really good potion and now you don't need to at all. It's, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, easy escape.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of,
no, it does, like, that's the cool thing that I liked about the dragons and whatnot. Like, you had to play around their special attacks, and like, you can kill Elvarg now with no anti-fire shield.
Yeah.
That's weird. Anyone else think that's weird?
Yeah,
that's really
odd.
Weird. Super
yeah,
weird.
Yeah, exactly. And you use the blowpipe for so many things. It's a really good weapon. That's another problem in itself. But like the fact that you'd had these weird little mechanic things where like, oh, Dragonfire will fucking rock your day. And now just a potion, you'll never have to worry about that shit again.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, whether you're at King Black Dragon or Green Dragons, or, you know what I mean? Like, now you just bring the Dragon Defender everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, that's where RuneScape's heading. We do have a couple of more poll questions. You want to move on to those, though?
Yeah, no, yeah. So I'm just saying, I don't really like the normal super anti-fires, let alone them introducing an extended version of them.
Yeah.
So
a little weird.
Get that rant out of the way.
But yeah, yeah, they want to buff the dragon crossbow or dragon hunter crossbow as well. So they want to bring the accuracy and damage bonuses provided by the dragon hunter crossbow when you fight dragons. They want to bring that from 10% to 30%.
Okay.
I think they should.
Yeah, it's a dragon hunter crossbow, yet it's still outclassed everywhere, basically, by the blowpipe.
Yeah, the only use I ever see is wyverns. People camp wyverns, and they bring that. It would be nice to see more uses from it. I think this will help, definitely.
Yeah.
So they say...
I agree that they should buff it.
Yeah,
but then,
they do say that the changes, that they will, these changes would make the Dragon Hunter crossbow comparable to the blowpipe DPS against dragons. And it's a lot, way cheaper than the blowpipe.
Oh yeah.
Well, the initial cost isn't, but, you know, the overtime effect.
I just wonder if they're like, it'll be on par with the blowpipe, but if that's factoring in the offhand that you're going to use with it as well. I don't know. I'm just confused. That's the thing. The super anti-fire potion just really fucks with everything because now you don't need a dragon ward. You know what I mean? You could just just bring the twisted buckler or whatever.
Yeah, generally though, if you're gonna use it, you're probably gonna have like a DFS or the dragon ward. Like bucklers are expensive as hell. I never see anyone use them.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I kind of like this. I do want to see more use out of it, besides AFK camping wyverns. It's pretty lame. But yeah, other changes they want to make. They recently reverted the change that we mentioned before of the dragon boots, and they were a little duller than usual. So people were concerned with like the coloring of the spikes in the DFH, the Dragon Full Helm. So they want the spikes in the helm to be recolored to match the dragon equipment. They also want to add, and I asked this, maybe last episode or something, but they want to add an ornament kit for the dragon plate body and the kite shield and the boots. And hold on, they want to add an ornament kit for the necklace of anguish.
Whoa.
And they want to add wrath runes to the rune dispenser in Barbarian Assault.
Oh shit, Magic's making a comeback in Barbarian Assault, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the rest of the poll questions. So they want to pretty much make the Dragon Full Helm, consistent, and then adding ornament kits to all the dragon pieces to make it more consistent, or like cool, I guess, more fashion-scapey. And same thing with the Necklace of Anguish, because the Torture ornament kit is badass. It's like a skull and everything. It's a really...
Oh, is it? I don't even know if I've seen it.
Yeah, it's dope. It's really awesome. It's worth
Cool.
I was gonna buy it when it was like 12 mil though or something. At the time it was like pretty much as much as the Torture, but It looks really cool. Hopefully it's not as expensive, but yeah, they want to add some more ornament kits. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but the plate body, the anguish, and the kite shield, those would be coming from master clues, and the dragon boot ornament kit would be coming from hard clues.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, so that I should have mentioned that, but that is the polls.
I love me some clue scrolls, so... And you know, the amount of hard clue scrolls I did, this might be where my RNG finally kicks in.
Yep. Hopefully. Or hopefully, day one I finish this master clue I've had for since the beginning of the podcast. Before episode 1. And I go get all of them.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. And then you're gonna get a hard clue scroll in your bank. You're gonna do that one. You'll get a master clue from that hard clue scroll and your boot ornament.
Well, I have a master clue, and then I have all the clues to make another master clue as well. I literally have one of each clue just sitting in my bank, so I don't have to get those goddamn drops.
You should do it just so that you can come on next week and talk about how lucky you got, and just to fucking piss me off about your third age armor you got from all your clue scrolls.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd rather do Vorkath. Speaking of, that's it for the news. Do you want to just start talking about Vorkath? Because I don't think we gave a rundown of him last episode, did we?
No, not entirely. I don't believe. Let's, well, you've actually done the boss, so take it away.
So, typically, I guess, the meta, what most people are doing now is, if they're killing Vorkath, they bring, full void, and if they have a BGS or a Warhammer, they bring, a void melee helmet, and then they bring stuff for higher slash or crush, and they spec it out, and they lower its defense. Obviously, you're going to use range against it, and you should use a blowpipe. You can use, if you don't want to use super anti-fires, you can use a crossbow, but you really should use a blowpipe and just use a super anti-fire because it's way faster. So he's got a couple of attacks. He's got a melee attack, so if you're in range, he just does a slash-based attack, and he chunks you. He does this, icicle, ice fireball, this tiny little fireball, that's a magic-based attack. And, yeah, it doesn't really do much, because he does shoot fire and stuff, you always want to have magic as an overhead. He does a ranged attack where he shoots, a black spiky ball, kind of like a black Karamwan, and that's nice. A range based, and it can do 32 damage or something. It hurts a lot. That's where most of the damage comes from, I feel. He's got multiple dragonfire attacks, so he's got the normal orange fire breath, I guess, and. Yeah, that is not going to do anything, though, because you're praying magic and you have a super anti-fire. He's got a Venom Dragon Fire Breath, where he venoms you, so you're going to need some anti-venom. He's got a pink, Fire Breath that disables your overhead prayer. And then he's got I don't even know what you would call this, but he shoots, a big ball of fire up into the air. And after, 3 or so ticks, it lands where you're standing, and it does a bunch of damage in a 3x3 radius.
Yeah, a lot of these moves are very similar, if not the exact same, from the Galvik boss fight.
Yeah.
So you'll recognize a lot of these. Galvik has the pink fire breath, all that shit as well, so.
Yeah. Generally, all these are pretty easy. You just have sound for, the barrage thingy if you're, visually impaired and you don't see it in time.
Yeah, if you're playing this game blind.
Yeah, and all you do, you see him attack, and you can just, you can even finish, you can even, get in your next, blowpipe attack and then move a couple squares. So, those are all pretty basic, and then he's got his 2 special attacks that we mentioned. So, his one special attack is, a poison pool thing, so he shoots a bunch of green little, pools everywhere. If you walk on them, you take damage, and the damage you take heals him as well.
Oh, wow, I didn't know it healed him.
Yeah. It'll heal up to 10. So between 7 and 10 are the numbers I've always seen. So what he does on top of that is he shoots a barrage of it's a machine gun of fireballs. He just barrages you with them, and they attack every single tick. And so what you have to do is just move consistently, and I recommend that you fight this guy with walk. Have run disabled, and you just walk. If he does his like little big fireball thing, you can just hold control and left click, and that makes you run for that click. So it's a temporary little run button, so that helps. But you just stay on walk, and you just keep walking. A lot of people try to move back and forth quickly in between like pools when they're first learning the fight, and they take a lot of damage. I've had some people like complain like how that keeps happening to them. And you could like, it's not a big deal if you walk over 1 or 2 pools and heal them up a little bit while you're learning and just eating and whatnot. Because like, I guess the way the game works, sometimes if you're clicking back and forth between like, 5 squares, you can just get hit 3 times in a row if you click at the wrong time, or you don't have like the best internet. It's super like finicky.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, what you're supposed to do is just kind of just walk in a straight line and not walk in any pools or get hit by the fire. But we mentioned it before, it's been discovered that you can attack during this whole phase. And the whole trick is that you stand 1 square outside of blowpipe range on walk. And when he starts barraging you and whatnot, you like, you walk to that. And then, like, what I do is I walk to, like, the far edge, as far away from as possible, like, to the wall, and then I'll, like, left click to attack him. When you start doing your auto attack animation, that's when you click behind you, and then you click behind, like, so you click behind you and then immediately click onto him. And you, like, you walk out of range, but then as you're walking back into your range, you auto attack him. And it's really tricky in the beginning to get done. Like, I'm gonna say, like, 80% of my deaths are for me messing up like this little trick, I guess. And one thing I learned is to click away from him as you start your auto attack. As you start your auto attack and you're already walking back, because just the way the Jagex tick system works while you're doing this mechanic, you're kind of doing it like 1 step ahead. So if you mess up, you'll find out the next time you're supposed to walk back, like a tick later. You'll find out like 0.4 seconds later if you messed up at all. So it kind of can really throw you off. So if you mess up, you're like, oh shit, I'm going to take some damage in a second. But yeah, so you can like walk as you do like the little stutter step. It's, if you watch like Wooks or Bodhi or someone do it on like, I think they have fights up on YouTube, and you probably watch them kill it on Twitch.
It is pretty difficult. I would recommend learning the fight without it first. And then when you got the fight pretty down pat, go back and learn how to do that one move where you can run like, stutter step.
Yeah, I did 30 kills, not trying to do this like stutter step, just doing it safely. And then from 30 kills to like 114, I've like implemented it. It's really tricky. Like I'll still mess it up, and it doesn't help that my internet's really like janky at times. But I just found that as you walk back and click to attack them, once you move in and as soon as you pull up your blowpipe to attack them, like the second or like at the same time, you want to time it as your guy starts to pull the blowpipe to like shoot the dart. That's when you want to click back and then click to attack him again. If you get the timing right, it's pretty smooth. You just move back and forth. If you're a little bit too slow while doing this, you'll notice your character turning. He'll shoot a blowpipe and then turn a little bit, and that's when you know you're still doing it fine, but you're like a little bit slow on the attacking part of the mechanic or the little trick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the other special like mechanic, I guess, special attack is like the ice move. So he shoots this like white fireball at you, and or like fire breath type thing, and he freezes you in place, and then a zombie spawn thing will like spawn, and you have to use crumble undead to kill it. I think it's like super cool that that spell is actually like used in a mechanic. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
If you don't do that in time though, he will like the spawn runs into you and suicides, and it can do like, I think 60 is the most I've taken, maybe 53, but it does a lot of damage, obviously. So
it'll fuck your day.
Yeah, you crumble undead, you'll one shot it. If you're doing it like a little bit, if you're like, you can tell when you're a little bit too slow on it, because like if you do it a little bit too late, or like, I guess like just in time, I should say, you'll get hit for 0. And then a weird effect will go on your body, as opposed to you completely fucking up the mechanic. Like, it's kind of weird. There's 2 different animations. It's super neat though. And so during this time, you can't actually, while you're frozen, you can't do any damage to Vorkath. what I do during the fight is I don't eat unless obviously I'm going to die if I don't, because the range attack does up to 32 damage. But what I do is I only eat during the poison pool phase and this zombified, like ice frozen whatever phase. As soon as he freezes me, I'll eat and then cast a Crumble Undead and then eat again and then continue the fight. Cause you want to get the fight done as fast as possible, obviously.
Yeah. And I know it's hard. Like, there's a few times where I have a few attacks that go off and then I crumble the undead. But the way I timed it, I shot one more attack and then it's too late. I can't hit him with my crumble the undead.
Yeah.
It takes a second to actually cast the spell, right?
Yeah. So,
By the time he's actually on
especially
top of you, so.
if you're not using a blowpipe, if you're using a crossbow and you auto attack while he's already walking to you, you're kind of like screwed. So if I don't have to eat, I just click where I'm standing, even though I'm using a blowpipe and I'm okay. It's just good habit to just spam click on your character. And then as soon as it hits the ground, throw that Crumble Undead onto him.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like, I've had only reason why I kind of just explained it all is I have like 3 people, I think, complain to me on how hard this fight is and how they can't beat it. Where it's not too bad. I notice I die if I'm spam clicking too much. So if he's shooting me with the barrage of like fireballs at the poison pool phase, and I'm not going to stutter step him, like say I already have to eat and I start spam clicking and I'm clicking too close to my guy, I'll just like, my guy will just kind of like, run in a little circle and then die quickly. So I noticed just like being calm with your clicks and, if you're doing your stutter step thingy and you start taking damage, you can just click on like the other side of the map and don't be too afraid of walking over a pool or two, especially if you're learning the fight. It's not too bad.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's really good money. It's recommended that you have over 80 range, 40 defense, and 43 prayer. Well, you kind of have to have over 43. Like 44 would be really good and up.
Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised if I saw that low of levels doing it consistently, but I'm sure eventually we will.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, once people get around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, my process was just kind of taking it slow, figuring out the mechanics, understanding like, how to kill it efficiently and when to eat. Like, cause you want to like, if you can kill it under 2 minutes, you don't have to waste a second dose of your super anti-fire. So it kind of helps it a lot with kills per hour. But, that's kind of like Vorkath summed up quickly.
Yeah, it's not bad. I know personally, I've tried it a few times and I died, and I currently I meant to blast through it, but like I've been so determined to do these diaries that I knew if I took a break from them to go kill Vorkath, I might not ever come back for a while. Yeah. And on top of that, I don't have that much gold because I'm fucking just blowing it all on stupid shit. So if I die, I don't want to waste all my gold. But yeah, eventually I'm going to tackle it myself, and I'll probably have a similar progression as you, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yep. The fight's not too hard. Like, I've died a decent amount, but I'm going to say 90% of the time, it's from me trying to do the stutter step, and then I just get comboed out because, I don't know, I'm too stubborn. I want to, like, attack them the whole time and not give up on, like, the little stutter step thing. And then sometimes it's just, like, me being silly. I misclick Crumble Undead or something, and I've died to that.
Yeah, fair enough. That's how I got hit a lot, was a fucking Crumble Undead. So yeah, watch out for that. It's a doozy.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm guessing that's basically it for Vorkath, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. With that, I guess that's it. That's it for our news. Our goings on in the community. I got a few things here on the topic of Vorkath. Now, it's kind of a moot point to bring this up now, but I put it in here, so we'll talk about it briefly. So before they made the change to Vorkath, people were comparing the gold per hour between Vorkath and Zulrah. So this is before the buff. It was at about 800k per hour, and that's, I guess, the consistent profit. Whereas Zulrah is at 2.2 mil per hour. So you can kind of see here why they felt like it was necessary to buff it. Whether it is or not, it's kind of controversial. Personally, I think most bosses should be done similar to Cerberus, where you're not getting a whole lot of consistent drops, but you're basically aiming to hit the unique drop table. For a while, there was this kind of battle. What should it be? PvE or skilling used to be the more consistent gold per hour, whereas bossing was not very consistent, but it had a greater chance of making more money per hour once you hit that unique. But anyways, you can see how it was kind of a problem where 800k per hour is really not that much, especially compared to Zulrah. So they felt the need to buff it, where we're probably sitting at about maybe 4 mil now, so it's almost double Zulrah. I guess it kind of makes sense. This is a new boss. It has pretty high requirements to do, but I don't think the problem so much is Vorkath wasn't a good money per hour boss. I think the problem came more from Zulrah is way too fucking good, and we've seen tons of nerfs already. The problem is if we're always going to be comparing the next boss to Zulrah without giving him some substantial nerfs, which they do try to do, we're going to start getting to some ridiculous numbers at some point.
With, like, when they buffed, so they ended up buffing Vorkath by, like, a disgusting amount, so he's, like, way more than Zulrah, right? Like, I could never get 2.2 mil an hour at Zulrah.
Yeah.
Like, as of right now, I don't think I would be able to. But I can easily get, like, 2.2 to 2.5 mil an hour at Vorkath.
Yeah.
Being pretty lax on it, too. So it's kind of weird that, like, how much money Vorkath makes, but it also brings up the, like, if it should be nerfed, at what level should it be nerfed, and, like, why? So other MMOs, like, I'll use Guild Wars 2 as an example, because they did this for, like, greedy reasons. They would nerf every money-making method in the game that got more than one, that would make you more than 1 gold per hour. And so to buy, like, the best weapon in the game, it would cost, like, well over 1,000 gold when I played. So, it's 1,000 hours of grinding, right? Money to buy it.
Yeah, okay.
And plus, the best weapon in the game required you to, like, 100% clear the whole map, you know what I mean? To, like, do a bunch of really random shit. So that got a lot of people upset when you would find ways to make money that was, like, 2 gold an hour or something like that. They would just instantly nerf it, and if it was any way of an exploit, you'd get banned too. Mm-hmm. And so people got really upset, and they mainly did that because they had, like, instead of you buying, like, membership, you could buy, like, a currency to buy stuff from, like, a cash shop in that game.
Right.
You could buy these gems, and you can buy them with in-game gold or real-life money. So I think they were kind of pushing people to buy these gems to use the gems to get gold. And a lot of people were pretty upset with that. And I don't know how it is now, but it was like that for well over a year, where they consistently kept everything at, like, 1 gold an hour maximum. And, like, some of the best money-making methods they made it, like, you can only run certain dungeons, like, once a day. You know what I mean? So they made it, like, very hard to make money. So I only bring that up because right now it seems like it's, like, the opposite, where Jagex keeps making things, like, more and more profitable as they come out, and people are getting more and more upset. So, like, what would happen if they made a baseline nerf of, like, they nerfed Slayer as 500k gold an hour, like, at best, and bossing, like, 1 mil an hour at best?
Yeah, see, that's where things start getting weird, right? Because you made a good point about the Guild Wars and them kind of doing it for their incentivizing people to spend their real-life money on gems and then change the gems to gold, because money can be so hard to get. Whereas if they start nerfing things, I'm not saying Jagex is trying to incentivize people to buy bonds, but you kind of do that when things get tougher. Some people are going to, if they have the money, they're going to start buying bonds to get their next big purchase item. It's going to help them with it.
Well, the only thing is, I can play RuneScape for 2 hours and have bond for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's, like, 2 hours, like, you space that out over 2 weeks. You know what I mean? You're playing, like nothing. You're playing, like, 10 minutes a day, and that's free membership.
Yeah, it gets tricky because, Zulrah, fucking the nickname Prophet Snake, it was ridiculous money, and a lot of people agreed it was way too much money for such a long time. It took them, like, years before they actually started nerfing it, and since then we've seen 2 or 3 different nerfs. And some of them have been pretty major, too. And I'm not saying you can't have, like, a new best in slot and a new best gold per hour boss. that's consistent. But it starts getting tricky when you have Zulrah, which is pretty good, and then you have Vorkath, which is doubled. You know, we have Raids 2 coming out in the future. Are they going to want it to be better than Vorkath?
Well, the main thing is, like, what if
things start getting tricky?
What if they just changed all the, like, I mean, obviously it's way easier said than done, right? It's just, but like, what if they changed all the drop rates and everything? Like, they made it so bossing in general was a consistent 1 mil an hour. I mean, maybe like KBD was less and stuff like that. And same with Venenatis or Kelphite Queen, whatever. Like, they make, you know, the higher end bosses, I guess, the harder bosses, pretty much the Slayer bosses, Zara and Vorkath, they made those like 1 mil an hour at best. Like, is that better than what they're doing right now? Or like maybe, cause like,
I don't know. See, the issue too is that like with Zulrah and I guess Vorkath, they have consistent drops. You know, you see that with the Kraken, where it's like, okay, you don't hit the unique drop table, no problem. You're still walking out there with 4 mil after an hour, or let's say 2 mil an hour. You're still making great money if you never even hit the rare drop table, or sorry, the unique drop table. And that's where things start getting weird, right? Mm-hmm. I guess this brings into another interesting point where it's kind of obvious, but then when you start thinking about it, it's you realize how things get complicated. So this week on the Q&A, Kieran kind of mentioned something that kind of makes why setting up a boss's drop table or its gold per hour rates get kind of tricky, where a lot of people want bosses to be like bandos, where you're not making much money, but you get one of their uniques and bam, you just made 20 mil or 10 mil. You still make quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with that, Cerberus, is another one we've mentioned. You hit their drop table, bam, 20 mil, or bam, 3-4 mil. Still quite a bit. But the reason it starts getting tricky, and this is what Kieran brings up, is those are currently the best in slot gear pieces.
Yeah.
Which is why they're worth so much, which is obvious. But like, if they ever release a boss in the future, let's say Raids 2 brings out a new offensive chess piece that's better than Bando's, we're going to see Bando's prices crash, and then just from those uniques crashing, because there's a new, better piece of gear people want for their strength bonus, you're going to see the rates for Bando's per hour crash drastically. So then you start wondering, well, should Bando's just be a boss like KBD that's really not a boss people are doing for money anymore? It's a boss people do for the pet. Because Bando's is a pretty tough boss, especially like soloing it.
Yep.
That's kind of a struggle. I could see it being an empty boss eventually if you start introducing new pieces that people don't care for Bandos as much. Bandos becomes the budget gear for if they can't afford. Let's just go with the Elder armor, because that's what they proposed. The offensive gear they proposed for melee back in Raids 1. So let's say they come out with Elder armor, and we're going to see Bandos crash quite a bit. So yeah, it does get tricky, right?
Yeah.
Same with Cerberus. They start bringing in some new best in slot boots and stuff like that. Those boots start going down, and next thing you know, Cerberus is suddenly not really a boss worth doing anymore.
Yep. The main thing with Vorkath, though, is you have 2 items that you want off the drop table. You know what I mean? Like there's just both wyverns. Those are like the only big drops. I mean, I guess the Dragon Bone necklace. Okay, yeah, it's 12.6 mil, so I take that back. Supposedly.
Currently, but over time we're going to see it drop.
Yeah, so
I'm not going to be surprised if it's worth like 1 mil in the future.
Yeah, so that price probably a little outdated.
Yeah, it probably jumped up a bit too.
It there's 3 items, I guess. 2 of them are over 10 mil. So if you were to nerf all of its alchables and its notables and stuff, like, I don't know, people just scream dead content. I think that's the big issue.
Yeah.
People scream
but the
dead
thing
content.
Is with bosses, you'll still have the people going there for their Slayer task and stuff like that because they can.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, you don't want it to be like the mini games where you have a shit ton of mini games that nobody's even heard of because nobody does them.
Yeah.
Because they're dead content. So again, yeah, the boss tables it is easier said than done on how you actually gear them. I don't know, but there are interesting things to think about. Like how would you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think works best? How do you think you would do it? What problems would that happen if you went across and nerfed every gold making method across the table, right? And so it's getting it's a complicated question, but hopefully Jagex is well equipped to deal with it, and we don't see a gold creep start coming in. We talk about power creep sometimes, but gold creep is another thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at RuneScape 3. A bond costs maybe 17 mil because that's how easy it is to make money in comparison.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone really wants inflation to happen, which is why we're always seeing ways for gold sinks to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just a pretty interesting thing. Again, on the topic of Vorkath and bosses and the Q&A this week, they mentioned how, I guess they've talked about how problematic the blowpipe is because it's just such a strong weapon. And it makes a problem when you come out with other weapons because do you make it better than the blowpipe? Do you make it worse? Do you make it on par? I wouldn't be surprised if we see a nerf come to the blowpipe in the future. But not only the blowpipe, there's the same issues when it comes to boss designs with the Dragon Warhammer and the Bando's Godsword. And Deegan, you've mentioned multiple times how often you use the Bando's Godsword or the Dragon Warhammer because it reduces the boss's defense.
Yeah.
And it starts getting kind of squirrely, as in when you release a boss and it has a high defense, it kind of has a high defense, but now you have this item that can just bring it down. And if you work a boss, they're having to work bosses around those two items because you can't make it a hard boss. And one of the factors it's a hard boss is because that has a high defense, because suddenly when you can take away his defense, the boss becomes easy. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want that. You see with the gargoyles. The gargoyles, I believe, have 0 defense just so that you can't bring your Bando's Godsword or Warhammer and just take them out easier. Yeah, they talk about that item in the game just kind of makes things tricky. Yeah, when coming up with future bosses, how do you work it? And then you also, the layers of the boss. If it's too close to a player-owned house or a fairy ring or something like that, people are just going to keep trying the boss over and over again until they get some good Dragon Warhammer specs, which kind of takes away a lot of the skill you need to fight that boss.
It's kind of weird that they are, having to, rework or make bosses based around these items, but they buffed the BGS, I don't know, it's super weird, but it does make a big difference. My fastest time on Vorkath is 1 minute and 18, and that's dropping 270 BGS specs on it, and then you're pretty much always max hitting, it feels like, at that point. And you just sit there and melt the boss in a minute, but if you don't hit any of them, they can go upwards of 2.5 minutes. The difference is pretty crazy. Yeah, I feel like that they're kind of put themselves in a corner with the blowpipe, Dragon Warhammer, BGS,
Twisted Bow even.
Twisted Bow especially, yeah. But I mean, super anti-fires. Now they can never really have a dragon fire based boss again.
Yeah.
They pretty much ruined 2 big mechanics with that.
Or they just have to have it so, I don't know. They have to basically be yeah, I know it's a dragon fire attack, but it's going to hit you no matter what. There's no way you can prevent it. They start having to make these weird changes. But another problem that comes with if they decide to tweak it, so they talked about either capping how much defense a boss can lose, or preventing you from using certain specials that maybe it won't work on it. When it's kind of weird when you have these special rules on bosses, then also questions come up where let's look at Corp. First off, it has a special rule. You need to have a spear to fight it. And this gives a reason to use a Zamorak Spear, where before you would just turn into a Hasta and use that instead.
Yeah.
So they have this special rule on it. Oh, no, you need to use a Spear to damage it. So it's just kind of weird. It works in some cases, but it starts getting weird when the next boss is like, oh, no, it only gets damage from throwing knives, and start having these weird things like that. But also, if you cap how much defense gets taken away from bosses, suddenly Iron Man can't really take out Corp anymore. Like, at least solo.
Yeah.
So then the question comes up, all right, so future bosses, do you cap the defense, but not previous bosses? Do you do it for every boss except for Corp? Do you work it a different way so it's more consistent? Because the way it is now, like, an Iron Man will teleport home to his player-owned house, recharge a special, and they do, like, you probably know the numbers, Deegan, but it's like 6 Dragon Warhammer specs and 2 BGS specs, and then they fight the boss.
They do Dragon Warhammers, BGSs, and Arclight. Like, it's... Yeah, they kind of just cycle through... like, all these specs. I don't know. It's super weird.
Yeah, and you teleport to your player-owned house to get your special and just keep going back, and, like... It seems like a silly way to kill the boss, but at the same time, an Iron Man has no other choice. Unless they give him the kind of raid treatment where a party of Iron Man can take the boss out. I don't know how you do it, but they don't really know how either. They have some ideas, and they know it's a problem, so... It's good. At least they know it's kind of an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from that.
In some more positive news, today we broke the record for concurrent players in Oldschool.
Yeah, that's right. So, we're at 81,000 today?
Yeah, something like that.
Either last episode or a couple episodes ago, we talked about how we just hit this new milestone of like 70-something thousand. And, that's always exciting. It was like the first time we hit those numbers since Oldschool RuneScape first came out. And then at the beginning of the week, I saw another thing that was like, we just hit 78,000, which is the newest number. And then today, like you just mentioned, 81,000. So, yeah, RuneScape is... It's making a comeback. I sounds weird to say because it's kind of always been there, but I think it's eventually going to get to those 2007 numbers one day, or minus the boss from 2007, and maybe we'll get those numbers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. With mobile coming out as well, I would not be surprised if we hit like 110,000 plus.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be massive.
And they're also going to have mobile betas released by the end of this month.
Yeah, so they did say in January, and they're kind of sticking to it. So the end of the month they're aiming for. But
I mean, I have 2 accounts signed up for the beta.
Yeah, I
should have signed up like my Mauler. That would have been good too.
7 different accounts.
Gotta get in somehow.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I am super excited for that. Again, I've mentioned before, but I'm big into the mobile games because when I'm at work, I'm always looking for a game to play on break or whenever I'm not actually doing work. And RuneScape's not out right now, so I'm finding other things. I'm on a bunch of like forums for mobile games and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people are hyped up for Oldschool RuneScape. A lot of people who've never actually even played the game, but they want to get into like a mobile MMO game, and there's a few of them out right now, but honestly, they're not bad for... That's the thing. They're not bad for an MMO on your mobile phones. But once RuneScape comes out, like I don't think there's going to be that many MMOs that can compete.
Because, yeah, I feel like it'll just dominate. Pretty nice.
And a lot of people are kind of excited for Oldschool RuneScape because they're like, oh wow, this game is pretty popular and like people say it's good, and I play all my games on my phone. I don't own a computer that can play games. I don't own a gaming console. I don't own like a Game Boy or anything like that. My mobile phone is where I play all my games. And then when this game comes out, they're going to be like, finally I can play this online PvP, PvM, just MMO game, massive multiplayer online game. And if you're into like mobile games as well, you'll understand that finding an online game is tough. Finding a free game is tough. Finding a PvP game done right is tough because there's always some catch, whether it's microtransactions or the game kind of sucks or there's microtransactions. That's always the fucking problem. And you're going to look at RuneScape where it has like tons of those aspects and it's all, put into one, right?
Yeah.
Because even the free-to-play version of the game, it's a good game for it being free compared to other games that, like World of Warcraft, their free version of it. You know what I mean? You get capped at level 20?
Yep.
Which is nothing. You probably get there so quickly, and then you can't really do much. But I know people who, there might be people even listening to the show that I think I've talked to that only play free-to-play because they say, like, I don't really see the point in spending the money and stuff like that. I don't have enough time to grind out the bonds. And free-to-play I have enough fun on free-to-play as it is. I got Castle Wars. I got PvPing. You got a handful of skills and shit. Sure, you got to compete against the bots, but there's enough there to keep you entertained for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, it's going to be cool. We'll have to keep giving these updates when we see these new milestones of new players playing. Or not new players, but total amount of players on at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's some pretty good stuff. All right, and now moving on from that, we're getting there. We're almost there, guys. Mod West posted a little teaser picture of the Arcuees spellbook, and it basically had some new spell icons. So, and if you've looked through all the different spellbooks, you'll kind of realize between Lunars, Ancients, Standards, they kind of have a theme where they have enough spells that have all different types. Then you get to Arcuees, and they got teleports, sure, but the rest are all just kind of summoning spells that are just used to train prayer. So it's a lot more useless than the other spellbooks. And when they originally came out with this, I think it was their idea of having summoning in the game, but they didn't want it to be like... There's a lot of problems that came with summoning, but they still kind of wanted that idea, and they came up with something that was nice and easy and safe for RuneScape, which was summoning a monster that you can kill, and it gives you magic experience and prayer experience once you kill it. So what they're looking to do is kind of combine all of those summoning spells into just 4 different categories, which I'm sure would be like beginner, easy, medium, hard, something like that. And you would just click it, and it might open up like a little tab or a chart, sort of like how Enchanting Bolts works, where you click it and then it opens up a bunch of other things. They're all kind of combined in there, not to clutter up the spellbook. So that's what they're looking at doing. But if you look at the spellbook that he kind of posted with the pictures, there's 2 different sets. One's a green picture of a wood cutting axe, and then you got a pickaxe. Oh, and then the other one looks like carrots or something growing out of the ground. So they have a green version of that, and then a purple version of that. Then they also have a picture of like, it looks like an anchor. Then you got a picture of like a sword, and then a picture that looks like 2 swords, and a picture of like a spider. Anyways, you see all these pictures, you have no idea what they do, but your mind can kind of come up with some stuff, like your own ideas, and there's different colors of all of them. So I don't know if we're gonna have like a spell that kind of increases the rate you can woodcut and mine or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. But we're gonna be probably seeing some new spells coming with the Arcuees spellbook. Yeah, a little teaser there.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm just kind of worried because with the Arcuees spellbook, we got things like the Barrows teleport, which is a little OP.
Yeah, that's silly. I mean, it teleports you right there, and I kind of... There's no reason to ever walk there through the Mortania swamps.
Yeah, I mean, so what, like, their plan is to take out all the reanimate spells and just group them all up into one.
Yeah, it's just that it gives room
then-
for these new spells.
But then what level would they want to leave the reanimate spells? You know what I mean?
It'd probably be the same, but you'd have when you click the very easy, or let's say you click the medium reanimate spell tab, or the spell, it'll open up a chart that has like 4 different reanimate spells that have different levels.
Are you going to be able to save them? Like, so you don't have to open up a chart every time? Because that's going to be a bitch if you're an Iron Man with 30 Bloodveld heads and you just want to get some prayer experience. Like, that's so much extra clicking.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's a good point.
Maybe they have it where you just left click, and if you have the level, it works, and if you don't, you know what I mean? Kind of like elking, how elking would work, but you would click to reanimate, then click on the head, and if you have the level, it lets you, and if you don't, then it just tells you need this magic level.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good idea. Or maybe whatever's next in line in your inventory. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if I speculate what these spells are, though, these new ones, I'm gonna get them wrong, obviously, and I'm never wrong, so I don't want to even try. But
your track record will be tarnished.
Yeah, I just feel like they're gonna be really good, because if something like the Barrows teleport has come out, and like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking, I'm worried more or less.
I do think there is room for some new spells. I do think that the Arcuees spellbook has room to be more useful than it is, and not in just the way of teleports. And I think there is a lot of cool things you could do with magic if you try to get more creative with it. Like, it'd be cool to have a DPS spell that was kind of like curses, where similar to poison, but it's not like, similar to poison. Well, you cast it on someone, and then they take like a low amount of damage over a period of time. I don't know. I know things can get really tricky there when you're PKing and like start comboing people out, but like I said, there's room for it to kind of work.
Yep.
And if you start experimenting and stuff like that, I don't know. But yeah, I am definitely interested to see what else they have for us. Moving right along, I've also heard the devs kind of talk about changing the way death mechanics work. So if you're new to the game, maybe, the way it used to work in old school RuneScape is when you died, you dropped all your items on the ground and anybody could see them instantly. So this is how it was going for a while, but old school RuneScape and a lot of streamers and stuff started getting DDoSed a lot, and causing them to purposely lose their items. Like, you'd be watching a streamer, I guess, and I guess you would DDoS them when they're at a boss to watch them disconnect and then lose their items, and then you could either pick them up or just watch them suffer. And it got to a point where it was kind of so problematic, and probably the servers were the servers weren't too stable as well.
Well, people were DDoSing servers for the longest time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, servers were straight up going down to DDoSing.
Yeah, and this was a while ago, so I'm having my memories a little shot in this part of their old school RuneScape history. But yeah, so eventually they found out it was kind of a problem, and yeah, they needed to kind of fix that. You couldn't be punished just because somebody DDoSed their servers, or maybe their servers were shit or something. So then we got what we have right now, where they stay on the ground for an hour. So before old school RuneScape was a thing, and before RuneScape 3 was a thing, when we just had RuneScape 2 back in 2007, they made a change where when your player died, you would drop a gravestone on the ground, and I believe your things lasted like 5 minutes. You can run back and reclaim them. But if somebody was so kind enough, they could pray at your gravestone, and it would cause it to stay there for an hour, so you could run back to retrieve them. They did this at the time to prevent... This is when they took out free trade, so they put trade limits in. You could no longer give someone an item for no reason. They also took out the wilderness, so you couldn't PK people to get their items, and they were doing this to prevent people from selling gold, basically. So they made it basically impossible for you to sell your own RuneScape money. And in doing so, people lost a lot of I don't know, a lot of things you can do in the game, like just trading somebody basically. So then that's the reason they changed that death mechanic back then. But if you play RuneScape 3 now, the way they have it is when you die, you kind of respawn for a brief moment in this little lair, which is Death's lair, and I believe he's sitting behind a desk. And then you talk to him, and he says, like, if you want to retrieve your items, it's going to cost you, like, 75% of the gold, that the value of those items, or 25%. I can't remember how much it is, but it's some percentage of what the value of those items that you died with are. So you pay him the money, and then boom, he gives you the items, or maybe you don't pay him the money and he scraps it. I can't remember which one it is, but that's the way RuneScape 3 currently works. And old school RuneScape is, they realize that they're going to have to change it eventually because it's just so stupid the way it is now, where it just lasts an hour. You have a lot of people who can abuse it. I know I've done it a bunch where I'll go and fight Cerberus, and if I die, I just treat it as like an extra little loot box that has a bunch of food in it so that I can stay there for double the amount of time than normal. Because it stays for a whole hour. And yeah, a lot of people treat it that way. It kind of removes the risk from bosses as well, except for things like Vorkath, where that's why you see things like Vorkath and the grotesque gargoyles that you die, your items get collected, you got to pay money to get them back. Because there has to be some sort of risk to dying in this game, especially to new bosses. Anyways, the devs have been talking about maybe introducing something similar to what RuneScape 3 has, where you die and then you have to pay money, depending on how much gear you lost, to kind of get it back. People won't be able to benefit from servers being DDoSed and stuff like that. And at the same time, there's a gold sink, which this game, they talk about all the time how much it needs it, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think about a mechanic like that, where you get sent to Death's Lair, and you got to pay 50% of the value of the items that you have to get them back?
I mean, that's a little much. If I were to die in my max Slayer gear, I wouldn't be able to get it back for a long ass time. Having to pay 40 mil to get my items back?
Yeah, that's a lot. The only reason I'm saying like 50%, it could be like just 5% or 10%, but if we're thinking about how it used to be, when you died, you lost basically like 100% of the gear you lost. Well, Don't forget though, you would keep the 3 items, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, beforehand though, yeah, you'd lose all of your gear, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of tricky. What do you do with untradables?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, do you just keep them?
Does that mean I'm always going to be training in full void now?
Yeah. If you want, yeah, exactly. So, but I don't know. It's something they've been talking about because, again, they realize that that's going to be a problem. And as we go down the road, it might just lead to more problems.
Yeah.
Just with the no risk factor. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah, so a whole lot was going on. We also saw a guy get an Inferno Cape because he paid somebody else to get it for him. And then he went and got a second Inferno Cape himself.
Well, he paid someone to get the first one. Jagex banned him for a bit, I think, and then deleted the Inferno Cape, right?
Well, this is what I was reading. He went and paid someone to get him the Inferno Cape, and then at some point afterwards, he went and got his own by him. Like he went and got it himself, and then Jagex noticed he paid for one of his Inferno Capes and wiped both of the Inferno Capes from his account, just deleted them.
Well, from what he was saying, he might have elaborated later on, but I remember reading him saying that he paid someone to do it, lost it, and got a temporary ban, and then he came back, got himself a couple months later, and then Jagex just deleted it again.
Okay, that's a possibility. But yeah, they kind of just like threw away the one he got himself. So then Jagex felt kind of bad. They gave him like 3 months membership, but no Inferno Cape. He still lost his Inferno Cape. So
why can't they just give it back to him?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's kind of the problem with that guy who lost his squirrel from the maze event.
Yeah, but
why can't they just give him that? You know what I mean? I don't know. but he
One
didn't get
is
it,
like
so.
some weird bug in coding. That's really weird. But the other one is Jagex going, hey, we think this guy bought his second Inferno cape, and then they deleted it, and they were wrong, and they went, oh, that sucks. You know, he was like $40.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, you could have just apologized and given it back to him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, we were talking about it before. Yeah, there's some items that wouldn't necessarily be a problem, like somebody who lost his squirrel pet, if Jags went and gave it back to him, it's not like he could just sell it. But I don't know. I think they're just worried about going down that road. Next thing you know, you have some guy being like, hey, I just lost, you know, some bug caused me to lose my full dragon armor set. I want one. Even, you know, I don't know. It's tricky. But yeah, that happened. Yeah, so I think that's basically everything that happened this week in RuneScape. It was quite a bit. A lot of things mentioned and talks of the future. Pretty eventful week.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to quickly get in our RuneScape lore of the week. You're able to hang in there just a little bit longer. There's more to talk about after this. So last week we were talking about the god Saren, which is the god of the elves, basically. This week we are talking about the god Zaros. God Zaros, or also known as the Empty Lord, he is the god of fate and control. He is basically the opposite of Saren, similar to how Zamorak is the opposite of Saradomin. Zaros is an older god, is older than both Zamorak and Saradomin. And you might recognize his symbol that is on the ancient staff. He is basically, during the Desert Treasure quest, it is wrapped around kind of his followers and his empire. Because during the Second Age, Zaros reigned over a huge empire that covered a lot of Gielinor that we have today. It spanned from Misthalin, Asgarnia, parts of Mortania, as well as Forinthrai, which is the wilderness as we know it today. Some of his followers were demons, vampires, and the Majorat, as well as some humans. Currently today, Zaros has a very small following and is mostly forgotten throughout Gielinor. So Zaros arrived during the Second Age, where he started building an empire and started massing a large amount of followers. And I mentioned some parts of his empire from before, some of the cities. Another one is also located at the dig site, which is called Senetsin, which you might be familiar with, the ancient magic's teleport that goes there. During the Second Age, when Zaros had amassed his followers, he had a Majorat general that we all know today as Zamorak. Zamorak wanted to become a god and leader of the Majorat, as he had many close followers within them. A faithful Saradomus, gone by the name of Veldez, knew of a staff that was a very powerful weapon and could cause the death of other gods. This staff is known as the Staff of Armadil. It was eventually stolen from Veldez, and the intentions were to sell it to Zaros. Eventually, he was persuaded to give it to the general Zamorak, which at the time was mortal. So once given to Zamorak, some of the Saradomin followers were able to enchant the staff so that it could not be detected by Zaros, which would help Zamorak lead a rebellion against Zaros, which kind of worked out for the Saradomin followers, as at the time, Zaros was the enemy of Saradomin. So once Zamorak had the enchanted Staff of Armadil, he was able to fight Zaros himself, and eventually killed Zaros with the staff, which caused Zamorak to ascend to godhood. Afterwards, over time, Zaros faded from RuneScape, and Zamorak became became a bigger enemy across Gielinor and across the Saradomin followers. So as Zaros was killed and banished, He's put a curse on all the followers that helped Zamorak obtain the Staff of Armadyl, and the curse caused them to wander Gielinor as ghosts for eternity. There were 6 people, and during the Desert Treasure Desert Treasure quest, you can talk to them to obtain the ghostly robes. Zamorak was also affected by the same curse, but since he became a god, he could not die. So once Zaros was killed, it was basically the start of the God Wars, and it caused many of his empires to fall and be destroyed, which is why 4 and 3, how do you even fucking say it? Let me see it. It doesn't even say. 4 and 3 is now basically a wasteland in the wilderness. So yeah, with the death of Zaros marked the beginning of the Third Age as well as the God Wars, which is, we've mentioned it before, but it is the period in which all the other gods, besides Saren was able to kind of hide away from the gods and not partake in the battles. But, Bandos, Armadyl, Saradomin, and Zamorak all waged war on Gielinor against each other. So yeah, that's basically it for our lore this week. To sum it all up, we saw the fall of one of the biggest and most influential gods at the time, where his followers basically had control of the whole entire world. And yeah, we saw the end of that. So boom, lore of the week. Next week, that's it for our major gods, basically. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next week, whether it's going through all the ages, starting at the first age, obviously, or if we're going to, I've thought about talking about the different races of RuneScape. That I'm not too sure. If you're interested in something in particular, let us know and we can figure out where it fits in. But yeah, stay tuned next week for probably the first age, unless I can think of something else that fits better in between. Hey, Deegan, you still with us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. So now with that being said, let's move on to, I guess, our podcast-related stuff. So yeah, 2 weeks ago, during our New Year's episode, basically, we went through a bunch of major events, major content releases, and stuff like that, and basically made a best of 2017 poll, and we asked some of you guys to vote on it. So, end of the 2 weeks, so I think we're going to talk about it now, some of the winners for each of the categories we had. So, some of the categories I had, just in case you missed it for whatever reason, we had Best Update of 2017, Best Free-to-Play Update, Best Quality of Life Update, Best New Item, Best Event, Biggest Controversial Moment, and Best Nerf of 2017. Starting off with the Best Update of 2017. Any guess what you think was voted number 1?
No clue.
Voted number 1 for Best Update was Raids, the Chamber of Zarak, sitting at 54%. Coming in second was the Inferno at 36%. And then there were couple votes for the other ones, which were Fossil Island, then Grotesque Guardians, and in last place was the Revenant Caves. Alright, so best free-to-play update. So this one might be a little bit surprising to you. Winning number 1 at 32% is Energy Potions.
Alright.
Second place at 30% is Castle Wars. Then at 19%, Corsair's Cove, 8% Maple Trees, Skull's Scepter coming in at 4%, and Zamorak Robes coming at 4% as well, so those tied for the last place. Next, we got Best Quality of Life Update. I'm not going to go through all these because we had a handful of them there, but coming in at 57%, taking the first place, is Shift Click to Drop.
Nice.
After that, at 13%, we have the Make All interface. 9%, we have the Bank Pin World Hop Timer. And then after that, at 8.9%, we have the World Map. Next, in the category for Best Item of 2017, this was a close one. Coming in first place at 27.8%, we have the Inferno Cape. And then coming in at 26.9%, in second place is the Twisted Bow. Right after that at 14%, we have Rigor. And after that at 8%, we have Dragon Claws. And the other ones are kind of scattered around between 8% and 1%. Next, we have Best Event of 2017. So coming in first place at 39.8%, we have King of the Skill. Coming in first place. Second place at 23%, we have the Dead Man Mode Tournaments of 2017. Coming right behind that at 19%, we have the Fire Cape Speed Run. 13%, we have the PvP Tournament, which is surprising. I think that was my number one. And then after that is Dead Man Mansions at 3%. And then at a measly 0.9%, we have the Wilderness Wars coming in dead last. So not so much love there for that one. All right, so next we have the biggest controversial moment of 2017. So this one's pretty surprising as well. And we left this category kind of up for your interpretation, whether it was biggest controversial moment or the worst controversial moment. It's up for you to decide when you voted either way. But coming in the number one spot, surprisingly enough, at 35%, it's the AHK controversy. So with the mouse keys and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Coming right behind that at 24%, we have the Mod Jed controversies. That was a pretty good one.
Yep. That was spicy.
That was pretty spicy. Then after that at 16%, we have the Wilderness Rejuvenation. And then tied at 11%, we have RuneScape High Definition and Gilbert's Colors. I think we're just kind of sweeping that one underneath the rug.
Yeah. Don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. All right, and finally, our last category was Best Nerf of 2017. So this is pretty interesting. We have a tie for first place. So at 42.6%, we have both the Zulrah Drop Table Nerf and the Neve's Cave Nuke.
Nice.
I like to call it the nuke because that place just got wrecked. Coming afterwards at 10%, we have the Void Range, followed by the Barbarian Assault Blowpipe Nerf at 2.8%, and the Serpentine Helmet at 1.9%. Pretty interesting. We got a pretty good turnout with that one. I liked how basically I'm pretty sure everything got voted on. Oh wait, the only thing that didn't get voted on was Mage Arena 2 for the best update of 2017. It's good.
Good. I like to see that.
But it's nice that, yeah, basically everything else got a vote for.
Yeah.
Even if it was just one. Yeah, that was cool. So, yeah, thanks everyone for participating in that. That was just a little fun thing we decided to do. Let's keep an eye out next year for all the cool updates that are coming out and see what we got for the best ofs of 2018. And on the topic of polls, so we're thinking we're going to do an event next Saturday. We're going to do an event on January 20th. Not sure what time, but we currently have a straw poll out on Facebook, Twitter, and our Discord. And if you want a link to, you can write in and we can email you it back or whatever it is, however you want to get in contact. But yeah, I've seen a few people mention that they need to get their torsos and stuff like that from Barbarian Assault. I know I need to get my Penance Helmet as well. I need to get my level 5s and all of the different jobs or roles, I should say, for one of the diaries. So I had been thinking about that, but Deegan, I know you mentioned to me, which was a pretty good idea, which was also, why not do some Mage Arena too? Maybe there's some people out there who want their cape, but are either too low of a level to do it, or don't really want to go into the wilderness to do it. So if that's something that you also want to get, this gives us a chance to kind of help out some lower levels get their cape. We can, through vengeance, we can venge other on you, we can heal other on you, while also providing protection from other PKers while you're doing it. And you might be able to actually get your best in slot magic cape that way if it's, too tough otherwise. So I thought that was a pretty good idea as well.
I mean, I already have mine, so it'd just be kind of fun to mess around, strength in numbers, and we can anti-PK, and, if you, want to get the kills faster with heal other and vengeance and whatnot, you have multiple people throwing vengeances on you.
Yeah, and they are strong, so, it might be kind of tough for you to actually kill them, because I know a few times, and even with Deegan, I remember when we were talking about it, some of our inventories would just get wiped out after a kill. And if you're a lower level and find that you might not be able to do it, with at least with me and Deegan there, you get 2 different vengeance, and you get some heals. That's 2 full inventories of extra heals. And anybody else out there who wants to join in and help some other lower levels get it and anti-PK at the same time, you can join us and do it. So get out there and vote for those straw polls on what you want to do, whether it's Barbarian Assault or Mage Arena 2. And also let us know what time works best for you so that we can make a actual time. We'll probably put out on either Facebook and Twitter and the Discord what time we'll be doing it next Saturday. But yeah, we want to find a time that the most people will be able to join on and do it, whether it's in the evening or nighttime or morning even. I don't know. And I don't think we're missing anything else. I think this is the point where we start wrapping it up. We're at a pretty good time limit. We don't really want to push now, do we? We're having this common pattern of our episodes landing in between 2 and 3 hours. So I hope that's not a problem to anybody. But yeah, it's been happening. It's been pretty busy. I've also been trying to keep my eye out on more things happening, not just news related, and also with that 2-minute lore part, I guess it kind of kicks it up a notch too. But yeah, since we're getting to that point where we're kind of toe-tapping that length line, we got a message from a listener about bossing and entry-level bossing and what levels that you can start doing it solo and with a group. We're going to hold that off till next week just because to give a good answer, I think it's good to kind of talk in length about it instead of just rushing through it. We don't want to push it past 3-hour mark of this podcast episode because that starts getting ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely look forward to that. We'll tackle through all the different bosses and what levels you guys can start doing that. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or any stories you want to tell us or whatever it is you want to let us know about, there's a number of ways you guys can do that. If you want to hang out with us in-game, our clan chat is WildCC. Decided that's probably the best place to throw that in is right at the start. We also have a Discord setup where you can hang out with us on there. We have a link that's available on Twitter and Facebook. And for whatever reason, maybe you're not on the social medias, just ask us in-game and we'll get you a link out there. Or whatever it is, through email, whatever it is, we'll get you a link to join us there. Yeah, our Twitter is @TheWildernessRS. Our Facebook is facebook.com/TheWildernessPodcast. Our email is thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. And any of the things I mentioned earlier that you want to comment on or whatever it is, and if you're watching on YouTube, just, feel free to leave a comment in that as well. Yeah, I guess that's basically it. Deacon, do you got anything you want to plug? You want them to follow you on or anything like that?
I have a Twitter now, but I don't really know what to post half the time, so I don't really use it too much. Maybe I'll kind of figure out the use of Twitter, I guess. You can follow me if you want. I'm not too active on it as of right now. I guess. I don't know. I don't really have anything to plug.
Do you want to drop your Twitter in there just in case anyone's
@DeeganRS.
Nice. I also do have my own personal. I think it's @DillsRS, but I don't think I've really used it at all. I figured I'd ask. All the other popular podcasts kind of do the same thing, so we got to kind of follow in line, don't we?
Yeah. Sadly, that's the case.
Man, I saw them do it on Joe Rogan, so we need to do it too.
Yep.
Okay.
Hot yoga. We don't drink or do drugs on October.
Yep, sober October. Fuck, I was trying to think of something for Runescape, but I got nothing. I think we should get out of here. Let's make a hasty escape.
All right, guys.
Thanks as always for listening, and tune in next week for episode 68. Look at that, I got it right this time.
Nice. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thank you.